Hey everyone, Gill Gross here post-match. Carlos Alcaraz versus Jannik Sinner, Wimbledon 2022, round 4. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. Jannik Sinner evens the head-to-head and writes the most significant chapter to date in a rivalry between two young players at the moment, 20 and 19, who we expect and hope will live at the top of the men's game for the next decade plus. 4-set win for Sinner. Huge result. I think the biggest win of his career. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I don't think so. I think I had it until this as the Zverev win at Roland Garros in 2020. And I think given the hype around Alcaraz, how close they are in age, it's a 4th round match. Sinner's a little bit further along. There are more expectations on him as well. This feels like the biggest match of his career. And on top of that, I think it's the best I've ever seen him play. This was the most impressive performance I can remember from Jannik Sinner. I was blown away by so many aspects of his game, pretty much every aspect of his game, from his serve, his return, his running forehands, his approach shot forehands, his rally ball backhands, the way he was controlling that shot. More detail on a couple of these things coming up. I mean, the only nitpick you could possibly find is, well, I suppose the match points that he lost, but you know, such is life sometimes. In fact, it was more impressive how he was able to wipe them away and stay in it mentally. And I believe he lost 4, if not 5 match points before he finally converted. The other one is his volleying. His volleying is a work in progress. He's still not automatic at net. He will still miss some volleys that he shouldn't miss. But, you know, as far as his play off the ground and his serving and returning, I mean, it was an absolutely stunning 4 sets of tennis by Sinner. And his grass court resume at this point has also taken a very sharp turn. And it's a very short resume. So I will read off all of his matches to you right now. This is the grass court career of Jannik Sinner. Loses to Nicolas Jarry. Loses to Jack Draper. Loses to Marton Fucsovics. Loses to Tommy Paul. Okay, he's 0-4. Let's play Wimbledon 2022. This is why he wasn't in the power rankings, guys. This is why. He was 0-4. Beats Stan Wawrinka, beats Michael Emer, beats John Isner, beats Carlos Alcaraz. Now he's 4-4, and the turnaround has certainly occurred. Now he's looking incredibly comfortable. This is the part where I shout out Darren Cahill. Darren Cahill, former coach of Simona Halep, former coach of Andre Agassi. He has been working with Jannik for the last couple weeks to try to improve his grass court tennis. Darren specifically says that every time. I'm not working with him to improve his tennis. I'm working with him to improve his grass court tennis. So I think they were working on some of the finer details of playing on this surface. And from the aggressiveness to, I think, some of the technical notes that or wrinkles that have been added to his game, to the increased level of body serves, the flattening out of the strokes, the pace absorption, the court positioning, all of it has been very impressive at Wimbledon 2022. And certainly it shows a continued pattern of Jannik Sinner continuing to be a student of the game, someone very passionate about continuing to improve and bringing people in and being a sponge, and someone who's very coachable. I think those things have been evident in his career. Now, before I get into the match, I've said my piece on Jannik Sinner. Let me say a quick piece on Carlos Alcaraz. Big picture. The discourse around Alcaraz can be a little bit frustrating here, and I think there will probably be some. I've already seen it on Twitter. I'll likely see it in YouTube comment sections as well, of a reaction that's kind of like, well, look, Alcaraz, this proves that he is overhyped. This proves that we need to pump the brakes. This proves that he's not so incredible and great. And the reality is it definitely doesn't do any of that. I think the highest and most optimistic of expectations for Alcaraz coming into this tournament were probably where I landed. I had him making the quarterfinal. I had him losing to Djokovic in the quarterfinal. That's what because I had a lot of faith in him coming out of that section, right? Those were the most optimistic expectations. So he falls a round short. He loses to Jannik Sinner as the betting favorite. Okay, this does not change how anyone should feel about Carlos Alcaraz in 2023, in 2024, for his career. All of the hype around Carlos Alcaraz is about the long term. Nobody was saying he was going to win Wimbledon 2022. Biggest key in this match was the Jannik Sinner return outmatching the Carlos Alcaraz serve. You look at Alcaraz's numbers here. 45% first serve points won in the first set. 60% first serve points won in set number 4. Those are red flag numbers. And watch the breaks of serve for Jannik Sinner. The common thread here is that he takes 2, 3, 4 Carlos Alcaraz first serves in any given game and hits fully neutralizing, oftentimes offensive returns off of Carlos Alcaraz first serves. That's a big problem. Now, Jannik deserves just an enormous amount of credit. In a lot of ways, his return reminds me sometimes of Djokovic in the sense that when he's stretched out, he can still tend to get a lot on it, and he's long and rangy. He's got long arms and he covers a lot of ground, I think, whether it be on his backhand side, where most actually struggle to cover a lot of ground, but I think he's pretty rangy on both his backhand and his forehand. He's got good balance. He's got good timing. He's got good technique. The number one eye-opening thing for me in Sinner's run through Wimbledon has been the quality of his returning. But you look at Carlos Alcaraz as well. He served 67% of his first serves in play, right? Which is really, really good. It's a strong number. How are you going to serve that much in play but lose that many of them? The serve strategy, or I don't know if it was a strategy or if it's just what he has the ability to do right now, but a lot of the serves were fast into safe targets, flat serves into safe targets. And what Alcaraz found out in this match was if you are going to play an elite returner, if you are going to play someone who returns as well as Jannik Sinner, you have to hit your spots. You have to hit great spots. You have to be that precision server. Again, I don't know that it was as much a strategic error as it was, well, Alcaraz isn't capable of that right now. And let me be very clear. Alcaraz deserves a ton of credit for his serving at Wimbledon 2022. He's made the adjustment on his spin. He's made the adjustment on his pace. But again, and we've seen this from Carlos in 2022, he just doesn't always hit his spots. And in this case, it would have been good enough against a lot of guys, but Sinner was impeccable on the return of serve, so you have to make it a little bit better. And just looking back, I think if I were coaching him and I could have a do-over, I don't think I would have told him this before the match, by the way, but I think looking back, I would have said, Carlos, go a little closer to the lines. It doesn't matter if you miss some. We got to make sure that we win our first serve points. Because, let's see, for the match, 65%. That's just not good enough. Carlos won 57% of his second serve points. That's good. So that would be the adjustment. Go closer to the lines. Miss more first serves because you're okay. If you have to hit a second serve, that's fine. We can win rallies against Sinner, but we need more help out of the first serve. Again, massive credit to Sinner's returning. It's both. Okay, I'm not criticizing Alcaraz's serve any more than I'm complimenting Sinner's return. It's absolutely both. I thought Overall, from the baseline in this match, Sinner looked more comfortable with the pace of play. This was especially true in the first and the second set. Grass court tennis is fast. It's just a quicker pace to it. If you watch, especially like a Federer and Djokovic play in some of the great Wimbledon encounters that we've been able to see from those two, it almost looks like they're playing at 1.25x speed. It looks like you sped the video up, that they're in fast forward. And that's because, the speed of the surface combined with the court position where they're up on the baseline and their power, of course, things go very fast. And that can be an adjustment. And I thought Sinner looked more comfortable with the pace of play, looked less rushed. I think that there are some technical adjustments that Carlos still needs to learn on grass. Sinner did a better job of flattening out, so his ball was getting through the court more. And I also think that Alcaraz needs to lower his center of gravity a little bit for the lower bounce on grass, especially on the forehand side. I think that there were pace absorption issues on the forehand side sometimes because he looked a little too upright to me. And a lot of players talk about this on grass. You have to make that adjustment. You have to get a little bit lower in order to absorb the pace, deal with the speed that the ball is coming in, and deal with the lower bounce. I felt Sinner was kind of on point with those adjustments, and Alcaraz still needs to make those slight adjustments. So flattening it out and lowering the center of gravity. Sinner looked very comfortable with those kinds of things. I think this was a really good showcase for Jannik's backhand. There were two things I was seeing. Sometimes low and short from Sinner's backhand, sometimes deep and fast. And he had amazing control with that shot to kind of toggle between those two, depending on Alcaraz's court position. If Alcaraz was deep in the court, I thought Sinner was able to just take some depth off the ball and hit that short angle and make Alcaraz go to the slice in that respect. If Alcaraz was on top of the baseline, Sinner could inject pace and depth and rush Alcaraz's backhand. Usually the reaction from Carlos was to slice. And that's why I said the forehand had the issue with the pace absorption. The backhand, the reaction was always to slice. If it was coming really quick, slice. Which is okay, especially on grass. I mean, look, we're certainly seeing it. Tim van Rijthoven on my television right now. Tatiana Maria on the women's side. Harmony Tan on the women's side. Yeah, slice works on grass. So that's great that Alcaraz was going for that. But then the way Sinner was attacking with his forehand, even when off of the Alcaraz slice, even when it stayed low, was mind-blowingly good. Was so good. So Sinner was hurting Alcaraz off of his slice. And I don't know if it was just the wrong slice for Alcaraz, that maybe Alcaraz should have sliced deep instead of always kind of using the short slice that Sinner was really going after and hitting so well, oftentimes as an approach shot. Maybe that was it. But whatever it was, Sinner in the backhand-to-backhand rally, more consistent and usually got a ball to attack before Alcaraz did, which is the goal. When you're trading backhand-to-backhand, you're oftentimes just waiting for the short ball to attack on your forehand. That's kind of the function. And certainly Sinner was getting the better of that cross court. And I thought showed off what is an elite backhand, especially at its best for Sinner. Also a great number of passing shots on it. I mean, Sinner was almost unapproachable on the backhand side. My biggest criticism of Alcaraz in the match is how many attacking forehands he missed. I think if you look at this match and the Zverev match, you look at some big moments, but you just look at the sheer number of forehand unforced errors. And I think what will have to click for Carlos is that, great players do not miss a lot of simple attacking forehands. So, Carlos sometimes has performances where that's not an issue, but maybe it's a pressure thing and it's a tension thing where that happens, but that will hold him back if that doesn't leave his game. The good news, he continues to go after it, and he doesn't let it affect him mentally, and that's great. He doesn't go into a shell when he misses some easy forehands. He continues to play the right way, and oftentimes you'll see him miss an easy forehand. Very next point, he'll hit a great forehand. So that's good. That's really good. But too many forehand errors here. Too many unforced errors. Strong mental performance by both. I want to give both of them props. Obviously, Jannik Sinner, I mentioned at the top that he was able to deal with the disappointment of losing the match points, but a very level-headed performance from him, and obviously he rose to the occasion. But for Carlos Alcaraz, really uncomfortable and getting beat down for a while in this match, and always stayed positive, continued to search for solutions, never sulked, never got discouraged. And it is fantastic to see a match between a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old, and you never worry about their mental games at any point. So that is noteworthy, and that is awesome, and I want to shout out both of them in that respect. I also want to mention the quality of the third set tiebreak, one of the best tiebreaks of the year. Overall, I felt Sinner was, I thought Alcaraz just raised his game at the end of the third set, and that's what made it close. Sinner was still good. Sinner was good in all 4 sets as far as I'm concerned. It's just Alcaraz kind of reached another level, and the shot making that we saw in that third set tiebreak was immaculate. And, as much as you credit Alcaraz for just going God mode there at the end of the tiebreak, you also credit Sinner that the only set that Alcaraz won, that's what it required. All credit to Sinner for really showing up big time and putting in the best performance I have ever seen out of him. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.